Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another show of a street man and a Christian woman. And tonight's show is about clarity. Clarity is tonight's show because there was a comment made about me in last week's show saying that I was a deadbeat dad. But I like to show another side of that story that is not justifying my actions because I was an immature man at that time. But I like to show that not only was I a deadbeat dad, but I had a few other hats going on at that time too. So first, I'd like to apologize to that beautiful woman and beautiful mother, Renee Magley. Homie, don't play that. She was a beautiful woman on this side. I thought everything was going great in our life. We was going to have a baby together. She was giving me a son on this side. And everything looked great. But I didn't know the future, and that's not the way things turned out. And in the process of that, she said to me, her son wasn't going to know her father because I didn't know my father. And I did grow up without a father, but still doesn't justify my actions of being wrong. So what I would like to say tonight is show her what the other side was like, the side that she didn't know about. She knew about her side that looked like we was going to have a beautiful life together, but she didn't know what was going on the other side. On the other side, I had a dying wife at that time, which I was separated from, but she was dying. I had a business that I was failing in because I lost the desire to do the business because of the situations that I had going on in my life. Then three, I was getting put out of where I was living. So I had a lot of mess going on over here on this other side that I'm not even sure that she even knew what was going on. So four, on top of all the mess I had going on the other side, it led me back to some criminal activities, and I end up having warrants out for my arrest. So these things is just a hot mess on this other side. On top of all those things that I said that was on the other side, I also had a drug addiction. So I mean, things is just a mess on this other side. So it led me to the point where, because I really was an immature man at that time, and I didn't understand the pressure of being a man, I relocated. I relocated to another state, looking for a fresh start, looking to think and believe that I could have left those things behind and moved on in my life because it was a hot mess back there on both sides at that time. So even when I relocated, I still was a hot mess for a while. I still was doing criminal activities in another state. And then eventually I got to praying and asking God to help me in my life and just straighten me out here, Father. So he put me a beautiful woman in my life, which is my beautiful wife at this time. And in the process of me and her getting together, she gave me 6 beautiful kids. And I like to tell her thank you for giving me the 6 beautiful kids and putting up with me all the time that you did, because you didn't have to. But you saw something in me just like the other women saw things in me. I had great qualities, but I was the first one to tell you in many of the shows that I needed to grow in some areas. I didn't have fatherhood down pat. I didn't have the qualities of being a disciplined man down pat. I had a lot of areas that I needed to grow in, and I've said it from the beginning of this show. And that's why the show was called A Street Man and a Christian Woman, because God gave me a second chance, a street man, a deadbeat dad, and shook me up and turned my life around. And then a few years after that, he blessed me with a job. When he blessed me with the job, he put me around men that started mentoring me. They were a little older than me, and they knew how to be a man, because I lacked in those qualities of being a man. Even my wife at this time said to me before the job, she told me I needed a job. I told her I don't need a job. I do what I want. I make money when I want. I work when I want. I do what I want. It's a joke in our house right now because we know that I can't live my life doing what I want. It's not my world. So I'm just giving a little briefing of how things went in my life back at that time. So I hope that this show tonight will bring a little clarity, a little closure, a little healing. If I don't help those that I may have hurt or inflicted, I hope that I heal myself by releasing what I had built up inside of me that I may have never been able to say to her or to any other women that I might have hurt or harmed in my past, even while I hurted my own beautiful wife in the beginning of our relationship, because I was an immature man at that time. And I'm the first one to admit that I needed to grow in some areas. I may have knew how to provide, but I didn't know how to be a dad, a father, or a husband. But I grew in those areas in time. I grew in those areas in time by having me a beautiful wife that prayed over me. She prayed over me daily, weekly, nightly, every chance she could get, she prayed over me. And then eventually I did change. You know, in time, and the mentors that I had in my life, I did change to be a better man. And those that know me at this time know that I'm a better man. And what I did was I took the blessing that God gave me, the second chance, and gave me another beautiful wife and a beautiful life. And I made sure that no matter what I do, that I would be a man. And I would stand up in those shoes and deal with the pressure of being a man. And that's why we have 23 years of marriage at this time, because she prayed over me and I stood in them shoes as a man. So I hope that this heals someone, touched someone, and I'm not justifying my actions, because I'm the first one to admit that I was wrong. I missed out on a young man's life, which I know how important it is right now, because I'm raising 3 boys of my own that I'm teaching how to be a man. And I'm doing this show and saying this right now so that I can show my sons that when you become a man and you make a mistake, admit to your mistake. Admit that you made a mistake. Admit that you wasn't perfect. Admit that you needed to grow in some areas, and it took time. It took prayer. It took lots of prayer for me to change, but I did change in time. So I'm going to see what Miss Kenyatta have to say at this time, and then I'm going to come back and close. So on to you, Miss Kenyatta.
Yes, my husband is not a perfect man. He missed out on a son, and that's his loss. At the end of the day, we still are human beings, and nobody's perfect, and everybody has a past. And I forgive him. And it's an ugly situation, because a child suffered for it. But I still love my husband, and I respect him for the man he is today. And at the end of the day, he has to answer to God, and I have to answer to God. We have a covenant. We work with the Lord, and we pray for time and healing. And we pray for Renee. We pray for her. We don't hate her. We don't dislike her. And we pray for her son. At the end of the day, it's all about love. And no matter what, Miss Narita Delgado raised him the best way she could, because she was a single mother, and his father didn't reach out to him. So she was in them same shoes and raised Vincent the best way she knew how. And I witnessed her raising Vincent, and she did the best that she could. She's still a great woman, because no matter what, her son is taking care of 6 kids. He works. He's legal. He has his own situation going. And God gave him a second chance. So let's not be so judgmental and condemning our black men. Because at the end of the day, we're living in a fatherless world in today's time. And I know one thing. I had a dad, and I lost my dad too. And I had to grow up fatherless for a few years of my life. And I know one thing. God helped me fill that void, and God helped my husband fill that void. So we stay in prayer, and I hand it back to you, Mr. Delgado.
And thank you, Miss Kenyatta. And in closing, I'd like to say that I wasn't a perfect man, and I did miss out on my son's life. I wasn't there to teach him things on how to be a man, and I didn't teach him who his dad was so he would know who his dad was, so possibly he can know who he was. But I'd like to apologize first to my beautiful wife, because I wasn't always the man that I am today first. Then I'd like to reach out to Miss Maylee and tell her that I hope to pray that she could forgive me for my actions and my unmanly ways at that time that I had in myself. And I'd like to apologize to my son and any other kids that's out there that's mine. I like to apologize to them also if I wasn't in their life, because it was my loss. It was my loss because I didn't know how to be a father at that time. So, as we always say at the end of the show, love, peace, and togetherness, and good night.